Start.
You
We're
there,
in.
Mike?
Welcome to the
Yeah, I'm
Jack
here.
Kirby
Can you hear
Museum.
me?
Yes.
All right, here we go. I'm starting the introduction. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jack Kirby Museum, Kirby Eternally pop-up. We're having a live stream with Barry Geller and Mike Royer. And unfortunately, we couldn't get Mike's camera to work, but he is a voice in the ether. So we're happy to welcome them. We're happy to welcome them both. And Barry, do you want to talk about what we're seeing on the screen?
Yes. Hi. Hi, everyone. Barry Ira Geller and Mike Royer. 45 years ago, I think it is now. Isn't that amazing, Mike? How can that possibly be 45 years? But 45 years ago, I worked with Jack Kirby. I called him up. I bought the rights to this novel, Lord of Light. I was a really brooming, straightforward producer type, but I had the vision that there was only one person in the world that can do what I wanted, that I saw in the novel, Roger Zelazny's great novel, Lord of Light. And then Jack and I hit it off, and we started doing about 14 drawings, 13 actually, but 14, of all these buildings in what I called science fiction land at that time. And I enlisted Jack to be the architect of a sprawling new theme park complex right on the neck and neck with Disney at the time. And it almost happened.
Well, you also had some very important celebrities, personages, writers who were enthused about science fiction land.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And
like Ray Bradbury, for instance.
Oh yeah, Ray Bradbury. Oh yeah.
And the great thing about Ray Bradbury, the thing that I personally learned from Ray, is don't ever grow up.
No, we were like children, and it's so unfortunately, Mike, you and I didn't meet until much later. But I have a copy of your receipt of inking this when it was flat black and white artwork. Rand, you wouldn't happen to have an example of the museum's artwork available? Rand?
Yes. What's
Would
that?
you happen to have a copy of the museum's artwork for Terminal of the Gods, black and white, available?
I don't think I might actually have it. Yeah, give me a moment. And see what I can do.
We're all live right now. Mike is.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know if this is a good idea.
Well, all right.
I don't think I should do that.
Okay. Well, what we're looking at. We'll continue, Mike. Continue what you were saying. Mike?
Oh, do we lose Mike?
Should we sing? How about? All right. So, not having that there.
I see that.
What I want to do is direct everyone's attention to a new version of the Terminal of the Gods. Can I just talk about it, Rand? That would be okay?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yep.
We started with we're moving in and around, and we've created a whole new 3D effect through the Oscar winners David Kuhn's invention, his scanning invention, that gave us. I'm not going to show the whole movie yet because that's going to be coming up next month. and there'll be a lot of discussion about it. But this is the entrance to the first NFT, or the first real view of that power that would emanate as if we were flying around science fiction land itself. Are we here from Mike yet?
No.
Oh my
No,
God!
I mean it seems that he's still in the show, but we're not hearing him now.
Well, this is
He's right here, but as he was before.
well.
But
Here we go. It's called the
Mike-
beginning
Mike?
of SneakerNet.
All right.
Everything all comes back to SneakerNet. I'm gonna have to.
that's yep, I know.
But see, I wasn't as prepared as I am right now to show. Can I show something? I just wasn't prepared. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Well, you want me to show the next one?
Not yet, because
Okay.
Mike, are you there? He's not.
Did you call my name?
Yeah.
You can actually. Yes, Mike.
Well, it's interesting. It hadn't been that long since I had inked the majority of the Eternals.
Exactly.
When Jack was had gone back to Marvel for a short time. And Jack spent a great deal of his career, I believe, dealing with the mythological gods of several cultures and adapting them to his brand of storytelling. And there seems to be a kind of a line from the Eternals to his involvement with you. And when I first saw the pencils, when they arrived from Jack, they just blew me away, because I had just been almost 10 full years of inking and lettering his comic book material. And with the exception of his famous gods drawings and a few things like poster-like things for Toys for Tots, etc., this was a complete change from the comic book pages. And the imagination that I saw and felt, the energy in all of these drawings, was at the time a mind-blowing. It's like there wasn't anything that Jack couldn't tackle and blow you away with. And here we are again dealing with Delazny's gods, or representations of them, and with your input and Jack's imagination, he developed all these incredible characters and architectures. Did you hear any of that?
Yes, there's a lot of feedback from Rand Studio. There's a lot of feedback from Rand Studio that. Oh, that's better. That's better, because it was we couldn't hear a lot of what you were saying because of the feedback.
Well, I can't remember because I wasn't listening myself.
Well, the point is that.
Sorry about that. It's
that's a joke. The thing is,
Laurel and Hardy routine.
We started around the time of the Eternals, that he had finished the Eternals somewhere around, I think it was 75, 76, something like that, 76, 77. He just finished the Eternals. And the raw power, see, at that point, it's important to know that the Terminal of the Gods, which is in the background here, just a small snippet of it, was done because of the power he still was going and felt for all the massive gods. And I think Eternals, the Eternals concepts and power just kept on going, because as we did more and more drawings, we if you remember, we became more and more Hindu or Indian kind of flavor in that.
Well, an interesting thing about Jack's artwork that I always was aware of, hopefully not mistakenly, was Jack drew things that took place in time. They weren't just static drawings, they took place in time. And if you look at these architectural drawings, they lend themselves to this NFT program or process because they actually take place in time. Jack is, I don't know, you could start in the center of one of these things and circle around, and the architecture changes, the perspective changes, your viewpoint where you're standing, looking up, down, sideways. Jack just had a knack of drawing things in time. I remember observing when he would draw a Captain America or somebody throwing a punch, and you looked at his fist in the foreground, and his back leg was in another time zone.
That's right. That's right.
And the neat thing about these drawings is that using your eyes as a camera and just trucking in and following, going left, right, up, and down, Jack is taking you into different places. As you've said yourself before, using your own eyes as a camera, you can start at the top of some sculpture or some piece of architecture and go down to the bottom, and it works. You see all these different depths that were in Jack's mind and flowed from his pencil.
Wait, I can't wait. This is the first international display ever of what we're working on, and it's to the T of what you just said. I mean, I actually said this morning to one of the artists, I said, look, this is about the power and magnitude of who are bringing out certain things. It's all about the very same thing you just said. I noticed when I got this from David Coons, that I can use traditional programs, but suddenly I can move around that arm. That's a flat arm on the original, and then the color is a flat arm, just flat. And now we can do exactly what you said. I can't show it because we're still working on it, but imagine what it would be if we went around that elbow and then all the way up into the elevators on the right, and then there's escalators. There's all kinds of stuff in there that people and activity, and it's my proud pleasure to announce that Mike Royer is drawing again, and he's involved in our development for our NFT project. I just got to tell everybody that he's back in the saddle, so much appreciated. But tell you what, why don't we move to the other drawing right now, Rand? We actually, this was all pretty hasty put together, so everyone bear with us. We here because we love you. You there, Mike? Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna now switch to the latest drawing, just days old, and I'm gonna tell. Okay, now this is a combination of Wally Ann Wharton's colors and Mike Royer's latest inks on a 3D model. I don't think you've even seen this before. I just got it, and I'm not going to show it for too long, but can we zoom up a little bit into that head? No?
Was your question directed to me?
No, I was talking to Rand. Stop there. And I just want to show, you can see the screen, that there's your central god on that, the guy with the elbow and everything. It's like now we're moving into reality, into this is an interim stage of 3D. But tell me your reflection, Mike, for having seen this for the first time, you being the original inker and also latest inker on the 3D model. Why don't you talk for a second? Which is impossible for you to talk for a second, right? Mike.
Well, the challenge going way back to the beginnings of this figure, this statue, was to create a back view which didn't exist, and to try to, in my own humble way, to channel Jack and do a back view of this god that, at least at the time, I felt this is close to what Jack might have done.
Yes.
There's no way to guarantee, because the genius of Jack Kirby is he never drew anything exactly the same way twice, because there was so much energy in everything he drew. You know, it's like you want to put together a model sheet of Captain America or one of his other heroes, and you'll see subtle changes in each drawing because it has to do with the energy. Anyway, my task was to, I think we did originally 2 characters, 2 gods, and creating the background was a real challenge because, you know, as I've told myself many times, you are no Jack Kirby, so this is going to be your best
but you're next in
guess
line
as to how he would have done it.
Yeah, but you're next in line, Mike.
And I think it turned out pretty decently from my viewpoint. I don't know what else I can say except this color job that Annie did is just great. You know,
it slays all of us, and it just permeates us. What's so interesting in the lordoflight.com website, in our last panel, she was discussing how Jack's lines guided her to select different color arrangements, and this, you know, the shading, every black line on this is your inking. So Garan
and working on this one and doing him, because on the Jack's original drawing, of course, you see his elbows. He's holding up metaphorically the roof of the terminal, and then thinking about, well, how would Jack have handled this if his arms were down? And these are like the first steps that if you were going to animate these characters, fully animate them.
That's correct.
How to extrapolate what Jack did in an initially a static pose into something that moves. Those black highlights would also change. But you look at Jack's stuff and the initial energy is there, and it's like the blueprint.
Yes. It's the blueprint of cosmic energy, not just Kirby crackle, but cosmic crackle. Can we go to the next drawing just briefly? Because I'll describe exactly what, see, people, it's the energy from these drawings that guides us all. And if it doesn't explode, we missed it. And now we did some kind of, there's in all of Jack's works, I did a search of 400 comics, and we only found one with somebody's back to the audience. And that was some bad guy that Thor was sending on his way. No back. So there's your inks. There's your inks that you did so long ago, about 2 years ago, remember? And on that blank model, which now shows up on the unboxes models that they're coming out with. But there it is. I love how you're like back down there, what you were talking about the hands. in one hand, in the drawing, it's like holding it up, but now it's straight down. Does that cover what you were talking about, Mike?
Yeah.
How do you see how this black, your inks have worked here for the back? This is all first time. He hasn't seen this before. It's so great. You know, it's like we're moving into the 22nd century here. We're taking Jack in every possible powerful maneuver and bringing out his best work in this way because we can with the new technology. Can Rand, you're so great. Can you back up for just about 5 seconds, and then we'll restore us to the screen. But can you back up just to see both of them together? Yes. And there's your statement of hands down. In the original, he's holding up the terminal of the gods. So great. Do you see Eternals in these
Oh
drawings?
yeah, I'm looking at them right now. You'll have to forgive something that happens, I think, to every artist that gives a damn about what he's done. I look at them and I go, why did I do that? Maybe I should have done this. It would have been more Jack's energy. It's but then again, it's like I said, Jack's energy doesn't stand still.
Fascinating.
It's there, you see it and you feel it. And I guess my impression when I first saw his pencils, Jack said, I got something else for you to do. He says, it's not comic book stuff. That's all I can tell you. So I think Jack was very aware of not letting this become common knowledge to the rest of the world, that it was a work in progress. And so all I knew is that the checks would be coming from somebody else. And that's all I knew. Except it was the kind of thing that Jack and I worked two ways. Every other book, I'd meet with him in person at his house. Then the alternate books would come to me on the old postal systems of special delivery. So when these pages arrived, I really couldn't share my impression and my enthusiasm and my reaction to anyone other than my studio cat, who didn't really give a damn, you know. She just wanted her attention. But looking at these things, and they were so large, you know, and my reaction on every page I ever inked of Jack was don't screw this up, pal, you know, and retain his energy. And I always felt that in the common understanding of what inking is, that I wasn't inking Jack's pencils, I was finishing his pencils in ink. And I don't believe I was ever unexcited and uninspired by looking at his raw pencils. I guess it's because I grew up loving Jack's work even before I knew what his name was, you know, who was Simon and who was Kirby. But looking at these pages, I don't know how to recapture the feeling of 45 years ago, except it was like, holy crap, what is this? You know, and also to know nothing about how it's going to be used, because he was keeping it confidential. And what it was almost 40 years before you and I met.
That's
Can
right.
you hear me at all?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, I hear you. I'm just wondering where you went. Keep talking. Oh, here we go. Here you are. So No, I was looking for it. I can pull up the drawings, or that one particular drawing, the original. Is there a way I can do that, Rand, and sort of share that, or do I have to send it to you, or no big deal? Hang in there, Mike. We have a few more minutes.
Sounds like I'm in a dentist's office.
Well, we're inside of, that's I tell you what, it's about us being prepared. See, there was a bunch of things back and forth in New York City, so we didn't really know until last night that we're actually going to do it at this hour, because I'm going down to Decon in a few hours. But anyway, I like what you said about that it doesn't stand still. So Rand, I can't put up anything at all, or do I have to send it to you? Oh, it's all right. This is a live broadcast. This is okay. We'll prepare better next time.
Rand, I have a question for Rand.
Go ahead.
At the museum, how much of Jack's art for Lord of Light is represented, if any? I know you won't have any original art, but do you have any prints? Because I was thinking, if you do, this is a good time to mention to people, since we're not able to show you these wonderful drawings in this video, that they should definitely go to the museum's website.
Well, if they go to Rand, can I go to lordoflight.com right now? Well, I'm in and then click on museum. See, it's on the lordoflight.com website. All the museum, they can buy it. They can buy it from lordoflight.com. All the drawings with descriptions and everything. Is there a way that you can share I can go there right now, Rand? We'll find out. We're all friends. This is a most fascinating conversation that I'm having with you, Mike. Because, with a lot of new technology, while Rand is working on that, I wanted to say, with the latest technology, see, you and Annie are both analog artists, yet you do things the digital guys can't even dream of doing. So that's the bottom line, as far as I'm concerned, in the new so-called NFT market. It's either art or it's the usual suspects. And so, and you really point out a very, very urgently important thing about Jack's drawings for this architectural event. He was out of time. It was just, and it doesn't stand still. So where would that put him? That puts us, that's why we're able to capture wherever I put the camera. And I can't show it right now, but wherever
Jack's artwork, whether it's the Lord of Light material or any of his comic book pages,
yes,
none of it stands still, quote unquote, because Jack never stood still. Jack is the artist who could create an entire issue of a comic book at dinner. It's why Roz always drove, because Jack's mind was always busy, active. The energy was, the synapses were exploding, and it wasn't safe to put him behind the wheel. One of my favorite anecdotes is telling my wife, I said, Roz drove for Jack all the time. And she looked at me and say, yeah, but you're no Jack Kirby. And it's just whatever in his youth, growing up, early industry, being a soldier in warfare, all of these things made Jack this creative force, this energy that, you know, you could talk with Jack and he would seem very calm, but he's always talking ideas, and not just a simple idea, but in talking with Jack, one of the things that I loved about visiting with Jack is that he would tell you something, and then he would say, and in other words, and he'd give it to you from another perspective. So we might have been dealing in a flat two-dimensional media, but in his mind, it was all this energetic 3 dimensions, which is why he could draw in time, and why there are so many levels that you've found in examining the terminal of the gods. There's all the things that are going on. In every section has some sort of a story to it. If it's simply just an explanation that this is an elevator and the people go to a top floor, and then there's the escalator for people who don't want to use the elevator. There is the suggestion of a complete, for lack of a better word, glass dome on the top of the landing strip.
Rand, can you show Terminal of the Gods in black and white possible? Hang on a second, Mike.
It's not possible. I saw Rand shaking his head.
Oh well.
And I don't think he was trying to shake off his mask. Right, Rand?
Okay. Let me see if I click share. I may be able to do it, but keep on here.
Well, Jack was a phenomena, or is it phenomenon? A veritable font of ideas, and he could take something old and turn it inside out and make it brand new and different. He influenced a hell of a lot of people. You know, in the world of comic strips, they talk about the icons are like Milton Caniff, Alex Raymond, Hal Foster, Bern Hogarth. But in the world of comic books, Jack has got to be, in my opinion, probably the most influential artist, even if there are artists who never even drew anything that resembled a Jack Kirby drawing. They embraced the energy of his thinking process.
There
we go.
There you go. So, fascinating. I appreciate it. This is kind of like raw, but that's the way it is. Look at that central figure, that central god right there, the most famous, and that at the very top left is what Mike is talking about.
My feeling always was that is the artist Jack's cutaway version of what would be a dome that covered the front part or that end of the terminal. But if he'd drawn it, he wouldn't have been able to show perhaps the helicopter and the plane that's flying in. And of course, when you launch the NFT, people will see the helicopter coming in, that plane coming in for a landing, people going up and down the escalator.
Don't reveal it. No. But
I'm not giving anything away, am I?
Yeah, right. He's spilling the beans. It's okay. But see, the dome was being built by 3M, and it was designed by Buckminster Fuller. And that was his end of what we were doing with the theme park. And then several others, along with Ray Bradbury, were involved in the whole architectural. So it's just phenomenal Rand, you want to now show that original one, the colored one, in replay, to replace? Thank you, Rand. This is all impromptu, but it's all about the energy that we're exploring here. There. Now the other one. Quick. There. That is that same central God that we showed you, that Rand was holding up. And what we did is that with the colorist, Raleigh Ann Wharton, she did some miracle with the colors and Jack's lines. And then we have David Coons, who did a whole new invention of high resolution, almost stereoscopic. I literally found that I can go around that. Can you imagine that? Mike, just around that arm. I come right up to the arm and we go past it right into the center of the terminal. That's going to be what the NFT does. But the whole bottom line is that Jack drew this two-dimensionally, and yet he drew it. It's like he was out of time and in time at the same time. He was, you might say, not in time. But by being not in time, he was able to just sort of see these complexes that mathematicians are calling quantum mechanics. But, I think that's a very beautiful way of describing it. There's no way to describe this. But when we're going to show, and I'm sorry we don't have it available right now, but we're going to show as if there's 100 feet away, wherever we go, in all his drawings. Mike? Mike?
I agree with you. Jack, I think in Jack's head, you touched on it. I mean, these may be flat two-dimensional drawings, but Jack and his creative energy knew what they would look like three-dimensionally.
That's right. It's exactly what I was trying to say in my humble way.
And that was his creative energy. That's why I've always felt, as I have said redundantly, that he drew things in time. His figures leaped. And people who don't understand that will bring up the questions of, well, academically, that's impossible. Well, number one, costume superheroes are impossible. So let's forget that idea. It's just, if you understand what Jack has drawn, it makes perfectly good sense.
Correct.
That we are looking at something that is not just a static two-dimensional drawing. The energy makes it three-dimensional.
And it just gets better because it gets bolder and more powerful. We literally, as we go inside and behind that elbow, we're in another time zone or dimensional activity, and yet it's all there in the flat. It's all there. It's like waiting for a hologram machine to just take it and pop it out in 3D. And it was there all the time. They didn't have to change and never will change a single thing, because it's like, what did he draw this thing under a microscope? How did he get such fine detail, Mike?
Well, and I'm pretty sure that in Jack's mind, he knew what was behind that arm.
That's a good
answer.
I
mean, now we can look at that floor that's got the statue at one end of it, which is like a guardian of that floor, but that could be shoot, a food court, a center where parents would leave their children while they did something. Um,
And
Jack knew. We just have to kind of imagine what Jack knew when he drew it. But I think he knew what was back there.
I agree. And it's altered my life again, yet again, to discover those of which we're totally dedicated to do right now. And those were some of the things we're going to be making announcements with the Kirby Museum, who is just so fantastic for their support of our work here, because after all these years, it needs technology and master digital guys to really bring forth, and we're finally doing that.
Well,
And
speaking of the museum, earlier I mentioned that if Rand has any of these prints at the museum, that's a good place for people to go. Obviously, the Lord of Light site has all of this, but I want people to go to the museum so that people will be inspired to what's the word I'm looking for, Rand? To pledge a tangible help to keep the museum alive.
Yes.
To realize what the resources are, that if they can't visit in person and you know, the brick and mortar location, at least they can have an actual involvement in making sure that it's there for all the people that haven't discovered it yet. You know, so I didn't mean to leave out the Lord of Light website, but I feel strongly about the museum existing for a hell of a long time.
That's right. And I'm
or,
totally
or longer.
The museum has been very kind and helpful to me and over the years, and I'm just so proud, and and feel very grateful. And now we're finally coming into what the thing really is, and it's going to be wonderful to see the original energies pop right back at you that you inked so long ago. And and it's how I'm remembering my conversations with him, by using the new technologies to go, oh yeah, look at that. That's what we were talking about. Not just, you have to get out of the thoughts and into the doing. And so this is what I think we even will plan a few of these developmental.
Well, let's face it, these drawings were so damn impressive that the CIA was able to steal them from you.
That's right. We always have.
And be responsible for a hostage release, because they looked at these things and it's like, yeah, this would be a great movie.
You don't have to, Rand, you wouldn't happen to have that shot of the CIA museum with the Terminal of the Gods under their glass? The CIA spy museum. We obviously, everybody, we apologize. This is called preparation by 70-year-olds. We're so happy to be here, but you see that the significance of it still has me in total wonderment, Mike, that our work ended up being used to save 6 American lives. I mean, regardless of that film, which only really had about 50% accuracy in it, according to the spy himself. But the fact is, these things made it real. If you showed this to whoever they were, they look at this, they never saw these kind of drawings before, and they go, yeah, you want to lift up, Rand, the terminal again, just to, and this is so wonderful. Aren't these guys so wonderful? The museum. We're gonna do something for these guys. uh, so here you go. You're starting a revolution. You're anti-U.S. And then there's these people that show up, and they have these drawings. You hold one up again, man, and like, and they're going. There you go. Yeah, hold it up, and they have these drawings. They had matches from some Hollywood eatery. They're talking Hollywood buzzwords. Of course, you're looking at the best artist in the universe, and like in the current world, and it looks just like they said. It looks Asian. It looks Middle Eastern, and it does. So they thought, well, okay. Jack's work inadvertently was the lead character because it was the first one, and it was so fantastic. It made those people in their revolution that they were working on. It made them believe that the film company was real. That's all. I'm not getting into anything else. But Mike, your work saved 6 American lives. And we don't understand what that really means. Other than, I don't think there's anyone else who can claim that. I'll shut up now.
Well, I think that all of these drawings are probably some of the best, if not my favorite, inkings of Jack, because they were different, inspiring, an energy that just brought out the best I was capable of. Now, some people might say, well, then you weren't capable of much, but that's another story. You know,
Well,
but the things that I am the proudest of inking Jack is his famous gods drawings and Lord of Light, because it's Jack unfettered by the constraints of a 10 by 15 comic book page, a canvas for him to create, like I say, without any restraints, without editorial yays and nays, And maybe I unconsciously recognized that and worked as hard as I could to make sure I finished it the way Jack would have done it if he'd had the time.
And you did.
And the desire to do it himself,
And you
but
did.
for him, the creative end was what came from his mind and out the end of that pencil, And I was fortunate enough to have an empathy for Jack that I know it sounds like I'm cutting hairs, but
No.
I don't believe that I just inked Jack Kirby's pencils. I finished his pencils and inked the way he would have.
And I believe Wally Emery's colors did the same thing to your inks.
Yeah, she was inspired.
And it's the same thing rolled up into David Cohen's. It's the same. It's a rolling energy, and so we're happy to present it.
It's Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby was the virus that infected all of us.
Well, when I took in my screenplay, I can't tell you how astonished I was. But to me, I thought, well, that's what Jack Kirby does. So I just literally, I was downtown. I went to Century City, all those giant buildings, and I said, "Here's all our buildings. They're at 2/3 of a mile long, and we look at these giant, massive structures." Paulo Soleri was really excited, and we have all, we just had bright minds, and so with the screenplay, the astonishing thing was to see what I had in my screenwriting head, visions, and then it took on the true life that Jack Kirby gave, and it's massive. It's a massive heritage, and I know the museum is going to enjoy a lot in the future. I haven't even told them about. So I think are we are we just so happy to be here today, really.
Good to see you, Rand, at least part of you. I'm referring to your mask.
I think, but I'm taking the same things you said today, Mike, to the newer artists who are working on the digital stuff, and it's like there's so many tricks, but that can be done, but only one way. The only one way is to explore that Jack's inner energy out of time and in time. But so that's my last statement. You want to make one?
Well, I hope to one day visit the museum myself in New York.
I totally agree. I very much want to do that, and I don't think it's going to be too far off in the future.
Well, there'll be someone, hopefully, knock on wood, that will underwrite that visit for us.
The wood has been knocked. we
Well, we're at the end of our hour. It's
yes.
been nice talking to you. You're probably better off not having to look at my mug during this hour.
Yeah, and they're a lot better off looking at mine, right?
Thanks for having me.
What did he just do? Oh, hold on. I got to do this. Bye. Mike's inking there from Unbox Digital. Bye now.
Bye-bye.